Just before this episode of the podcast begins, I'd just like to say a huge thank you to everybody that watches the content. The growth of the podcast over the past month or so has been incredible, and we're edging closer to my ultimate goal of 1,000 subscribers. We won't stop there, but it would mean the world to hit that milestone, and according to YouTube Analytics, 80% of the people that watch the content aren't subscribed. So if you're part of that number, please consider hitting that red button and the notification bell next to it and enjoy the journey. Your support simply doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you all so much, and enjoy the episode. The question I'm getting asked the most at the moment is who is going to make those top six places? Which League One clubs are going to make those playoff places come the end of the season? I'm getting comments on pretty much every episode of the podcast that I'm doing. So I thought I'd deep dive, get a really, really good idea of which club is where and really could they finish in the top six come the end of the season. Like I said, completely opinion based. I can't predict the future, but I really, really thought let's look at the different variables. Let's really look at which teams could make it. Let's see who the candidates are. And I'm also going to give my chances for all these teams as well. So give every team a out of 10 chance, if you like, of getting into the playoffs. And also give my prediction for the final top six as well. Like I said, a lot of people have been asking my thoughts in the comments. I thought, let's make an entire episode of the podcast out of it. So if you enjoy this episode and you want to see more of this sort of stuff, or maybe you want to see different things as well, maybe who you want to see get relegated, that sort of thing. Maybe not to see get relegated, but who you like to do a video of me thinking who might get relegated. We don't want to see anyone get relegated, of course. Let me know in the comments down below. Also, if you haven't subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers. Please hit that button. You can also hit the notification bell as well. That way you'll be notified every time I go live, or like I said, do a recorded episode just like this one. Really, really exciting stuff. Let's get straight into it, starting off with Accrington Stanley. Now, I've got a bit of explaining to do. I've got to do a bit of explaining because I did this sort of research or deep dive research yesterday. Now, if you didn't know, a few games happened yesterday. Wigan played again. Bolton played against Bolton. That was a really interesting game. We're going to have to come on to that in just a second because that has influenced things slightly. But the first sort of challenge I had to sort of come across, the first obstacle I had to sort of dodge was, where's the cutoff point? Which team can I think, am I going to just stop at? Which position am I going to say they've got no chance, there's no point in me sort of looking at them? For example, no offence Doncaster or Crew fans, I haven't looked into your season's chance of getting in the top six. That might be a little bit out of reach. But of course I had to think of a fair cutoff point. Now I went with 12th, and the reason I went with 12th, and I've got the league table in front of me here. So at the moment, 12th is around 10 points off the playoffs. So 12th is Bolton. When I did this research, it was Accrington. So that's where the interest comes in. Bolton played on Tuesday night. They beat Bolton. So that means they now moved up to 12th. I haven't done a sort of intense research on Bolton's chances, but they're very similar to Accrington in the sense is they're both on 43 points, and they both see themselves 10 points from the playoffs. So 12th is 10 points from 6th, of course, which is the first playoff spot. That's where I've hit the cutoff point. Now, that means I haven't looked at Charlton, I haven't looked at Cheltenham and Cambridge, who are the teams in 14th, 15th and 16th. I just don't see that, unfortunately. I don't know. They're on 39 points. Like I said, 6th is on 53 points. I can't see that gap of, in total then 14 points. I think making up 14 points could be a little bit of a stretch. I'm not going to lie. Now, maybe there's some Charlton fans, some optimistic Charlton fans in the comments down below that maybe think you could make the 14-point gap up to 6th. Maybe there could be. And if you do, then I do apologise. But I haven't done that. I've cut it out at 12th, which, of course, is exactly mid-table. So, let's start off then with Accrington / Bolton, both of which are on 43 points as of recording and are 10 points off 6th. Now, like I said, I haven't gone into deep dive on Bolton, so I've done it on Accrington. I do apologise, Bolton fans, but I'm going to give you the same chance as Accrington if I'm being honest. So Accrington and Bolton, really, I think the big factor I've got at the moment is I think they might just be a little bit behind the pack still in terms of you're 10 points off 6th. You're in a position, I think, at the moment where you can look at all the different variables, you can look at everything in the world, but ultimately you've got to look at how far away you are from those playoff places. You're 10 points off those playoff places. You can look at different things like if Sean McConville has a fantastic second half of the season, like he's had a great season so far for Accrington. You can look at all those different things, but ultimately it all comes down to the same thing. How far are you away from the playoff places right now? You haven't just got to get 10 points, you've also got to get 10 points on top of the teams above you. You've got to catch up 10 points and hope the teams above you and around you, I guess, but mainly in front of you who are also trying to get there. You need to hope they also drop points as well. So there's a real difficulty in that sense. But like I said, if they build off the last two results, both of which have been wins, then you really, really could think that if they get a real momentum going, they get a real run going, then they've got a really quite small chance. Still a chance, but I think it is a small chance. Not one of the big boys, they're not one of the most supported clubs in the league, but they're proving a really, really good squad, and they're also becoming a really good banana skin side for those teams above them as well. And again, like I said, they're in a really good position and are winning some really, really big games this season. Now look at the stats as well. Their attacking XG is slightly below average compared to teams around them. They may have to improve on in terms of goals and in terms of their creativity. In terms of their defensive XG, that's much more of a concern. They've got the fourth worst. There is a clear weakness in those defensive area. Only Gillingham, Crewe and Doncaster have a worse defensive XG. Of course, all three of those teams are the bottom three teams in the league, all of which in the relegation zone. So there is a bit of a concern in the defensive third as well. Like I said, the run into the season I think is really, really important as well. They've got Sheffield Wednesday, Bolton, Plymouth and Charlton still to play. I think it might be a little bit too much of an ask for Accrington. I'm going to give them a 2 out of 10 chance, which is a 20% chance of getting the top 6. We could be getting even lower. We could be looking at 1.5, which sounds really, really harsh. But it's a bit of reality, and that's the way it is. Is it just a bit too much of an ask? Is it too much of a tough ask for an Accrington side? I'm going to give them a 2 out of 10. It's not likely at all. But to be fair, they are a candidate and they've got themselves in that position and they definitely do deserve it. So in terms of Portsmouth, it's similar to Burton, similar to Accrington really. They could just be a little bit behind the pack. And like I said, you can look at all these different factors. But ultimately, where are you now and how many points are you from that first playoff spot? So that could be a little bit too much of an ask, if I'm being honest. It could be too much of a catch-up game for Portsmouth. Consistency has been a big issue for Portsmouth this season. They've made some good additions to the January transfer window. They have made some really, really promising additions to the squad. But like I said, is that a little bit late? Are those players going to be able to make an impact as quickly as possible? And have they made an impact as quickly as possible? They struggled a little bit in terms of getting a result. They in 2021, really, since those new signings were made, they are now getting some results, which is a little bit promising. Recent results, again, are quite promising as well. And again, this needs to provide the much-needed momentum that they will need to go on if they are to make a late push for the top 6. Like I said, it is a little bit unlikely. They're 10 points off the playoff places. But like I said, it's going to be really quite interesting. Can they make a really, really late push, the ultimate top 6 push, really, for those playoff places? We look at the XG. The defensive XG looks good in comparison to the other 24 teams. They've got a positive 7 XG as well. Going forward, the XG is more sort of middle of the park, quite average around the other 24 teams in the league. They're hovering at the 29 XG mark in terms of goals, comparing that to Oxford, to a top, which is 37. So not a million miles away from the top XG in terms of chance creation and expected goals. It's not bad at all, but it's not exceptional. Unfortunately, you have to get much closer to that exceptional standard, not to the exceptional standard, but a very, very good standard to have any chance of the top 6. We've got to look at the running as well. They've got some tough games coming up. Rotherham, Oxford, Bolton and Sheffield Wednesday. They're the games that could prove decisive. I think they will be decisive. You've got to get results to get those top sides. Like I said, it's going to be difficult. You have to look at how far they are away from now. They're currently sat on 44 points. 53 points is the benchmarks. I do apologise, I said 10 points earlier. It's actually 9 points away. But still, 9 points they've got to get in that top 6. Plus the teams, of course, above them, they have to drop points as well. It's not going to be easy. I'm giving Portsmouth a 2.5 10 out of 10 chance of getting those playoffs places. I think it could be a little bit of a tough ask, if I'm being honest. Next then we've got Bolton, an outstanding run of form, a sensational January transfer window, and they are really sort of outsiders, I think, to maybe go and do this. It is quite exciting. And we have got to talk about their last game yesterday against Burton, which was a real setback. But forget about that. Let's focus on the positives at Bolton, because there certainly are a lot of positives. 8 points from the playoffs really isn't unachievable. That's slightly less now, I believe. We are looking at... it still is 8 points from the playoffs. That hasn't changed, even though yesterday's result wasn't the best. Again, it's not unachievable, and with the amazing form they're on, it generally does become a possibility. I think with Bolton, again, they had a bit of a drop off, and then since the January transfer window, amazing additions, some really, really good squad additions, and they're now sort of really flying up that league table really quite quickly, and in a really, really positive way. Now, if we're going to be honest, their run-in isn't the most difficult either. So that is a slight positive. They have got only play, but again, you compare it to other run-ins. They've got to play Sheffield Wednesday, Wigan, MK Dons and Portsmouth. Don't get me wrong, really big games. But we'll come on to other run-ins from some other teams in the league. That is actually a fairly okay running in terms of the big games they've still got to play. They played a lot of top sides already this season. But even with those games, based on current form, I don't. It's so difficult with Bolton, and it's so difficult to predict anything in this league, as we've already seen. But it's really quite difficult. We look at those XG; they've got the fourth best XG going forward, suggesting they've got really, really good attacking numbers. Defensive stats are more in the middle of the park, but again, those attacking numbers have sort of made up for their not so brilliant defensive ones. They're 1 point more. The only point more than Portsmouth, but it's the run and the form and momentum. I think that's a really, really important point. Like I said, they're not much different to Portsmouth in terms of how far away they are from the playoffs. But like I said, it's the run, it's the momentum, it's the confidence sort of in that Bolton squad at the moment. Has that been affected after last night's defeat to Burton? Yes, it probably has been. But it's got to be really, really important that what Bolton do is make sure it doesn't derail the season. One bad result, you can get away with it. But you can't get away with many more of those because, like I said, you are playing catch-up. You are having to get results on these sides that are above you, plus getting points yourself. So it is really quite difficult. You can't have too many of them. If it's a 3-0 loss to Burton, I think it finished 3-0 last night, then that's the way it is. It finished 3-1, sorry, my apologies. If it is a 3-1 defeat to Burton yesterday, then that's just the way it is. You've got to make sure you bounce back on Saturday. But you can't derail the season because that's really, really important. In a season where you are playing catch-up at now this point to get into that top six, you can't be... you can't hit a bad run of form, because that will completely collapse and ruin any chances. So Bolton are a really, really quite interesting one. I'm going to give them a 4 out of 10 chance, which doesn't sound it doesn't sound brilliant. But you've got to look at the fact that they are 8 points away from the playoffs. They've got some really big games coming up, and they were lost again last night. Again, that's the first time in 7 games. But they lost to Burton last night in a game which I think they probably should have won. I'm going to give them a 4.5, 10 out of chance. It sounds a bit harsh, but I'm going to give them that. Did I say 4 out of 10 the first time? I'm going 4.5 this time. There could be part of me that if they make sure this doesn't let them derail their season, they could go on. And because there's no doubt there's quality in that squad, some really good quality in that squad, it really, really could be interesting. So keep an eye on Bolton. I think they could be a bit of an outside bet for the top 6. So next at we've got Ipswich. Now, it's just quite a strange one because they've had quite a strange season. They came into the season after a really, really good and very busy summer transfer window. And they had Paul Cook at the wheel, and he was doing really... They definitely backed him, definitely with the players they brought in. But, I mean, a lot's changed. They had a really quite poor start to the season. They sacked Paul Cook in the end. Kieran McKenna came in. And like I said, it's been quite a bizarre season for Ipswich. It's definitely one you couldn't predict. But at the moment, they are on a really decent run, and they're not a million miles away. I think a lot of people maybe have sort of slept on Ipswich a little bit now because their season went a little bit strange. But you've got to remember, they actually are 5 points away from the playoffs. There really, really is a chance that Ipswich could put in a serious race for that top 6. And their season certainly is not over. Remember when Kieran McKenna came in, he said, let's make sure that we make this season somewhat... let's not kill the season. Let's make something of this season. I think that's what he said. And I think the Ipswich are really trying to do their best of making sure they do that. The XG and their actual goals are promising, and that's at the sort of the top end in comparison to the other clubs in the league. The run-in, it does look tough. Ipswich have got to play some huge teams. They've got to play Portsmouth, Oxford, Plymouth, Wigan, who are second, Rotherham, who are league leaders, Charlton. They've got some huge games. Like I said, I'll probably say it throughout the episode, but these are the sort of games that are decisive. Those are the games that will decide whether or not you get in that top 6. Like I said, Ipswich is quite strange because they've sort of had a bit of an up and down season, quite inconsistent. But even still, now they are 5 points away from the playoffs. There is a serious chance of them doing it. There's no doubt there's quality in the squad. They've got some fantastic players. Can they do it this season, though? It's difficult. The point difference suggests, why not? That's what's interesting. The points of 5 points away really does suggest we could give this a really big, good go. I'm going to go 5 out of 10 for Ipswich. 5 out of 10. 50-50. They could do it. They might not. I don't know. 5 out of 10 chance for Ipswich, I think. The run-in puts me off slightly. Rotherham still to play. Wigan, Charlton, Oxford, Portsmouth. They're going to be such difficult games. Like I said, it's so difficult to predict. But I'm going to go 5 out of 10 for Ipswich. Next, then, we've got Sheffield Wednesday with only 1 point separating them from the playoffs. It really is a possibility for Sheffield Wednesday to make those playoff places. So many people, including myself, thought they might run away with the league, or comfortably, should I say, be in those playoff places, and if not pushing for a title. That isn't the case. They are just outside the playoff places by a point. Inconsistency, again, has been a really, really big problem for Sheffield Wednesday. Drawing too many games this season. They've drawn way too many in games they should be winning. And defensively, though, they look quite strong. There are positives in that sense. Defensively, they do look really quite good. They just do lack goals. Going forward, they really are struggling. Second least goals conceded. Only league leaders are beating them. Rotherham, who, they're the only team that are better than them. And, of course, they're leading the table for the least goals conceded. Fourth best XG as well when it comes to defensive XG. Such a tough run-in, though, with some really, really big games. This has all got to play Charlton, Bolton, MK Dons, Wickham and Portsmouth. So again, some top sides in there that again are going to be around them, are going to be sniffing to sort of get into that top 6. Similar to Ipswich, those games will be decisive for the playoffs. I'm going to give them a 6.5 out of 10 chance. They're only 1 point away. They've got some really, really big games. They don't concede many goals. If they can start scoring some goals against the top sides and maybe get some big results against the top sides, it really, really could go either way. I'm going to go 6.5 out of 10 chance of them getting the playoffs. It's not going to be easy, but I do fancy Sheffield Wednesday to continue to sniff for those top 6 places. Next, then, we've got Oxford. I don't like talking about Oxford's chances of the playoffs. I really, really don't. But only goal difference separates us from the playoffs at the moment. They've got the highest XG in the league, so that suggests our fantastic attacking numbers going forward. But defensively, we're shipping a bit, too many goals. That's not just down to statistics. That's down to sort of the visual side of watching Oxford week in, week out. Defensively, we are struggling, and we need to be much better. We need to tighten up defensively at the back in order to give us a really, really good shout. And unfortunately, defensively is a really, really big area that could cost you get the top 6. It could cost you a lot of things, but it definitely can cost you having a serious go at getting the top 6. The running again is a really big test. We've got some huge games coming up: Portsmouth, Charlton, Ipswich, Plymouth, Sunderland, Rotherham. Some huge games. And like I think those games will be make or break for Oxford. I think those sort of games will break your season. They could make your season. You get some massive results against those sides, which won't be easy by any stretch at all. Like I said, no team in this league is an easy game, but I think those teams are going to prove the most difficult for Oxford. But then you say that we lost to Accrington on a Tuesday night in a game we definitely were favourites to win, and we felt we had to win, and we didn't. We lost 2-0 really quite comfortably. So it's those performances that are going to cost you. If we can tighten up defensively, we've got all the chance of doing it. Like I said, going forward, I'm happy with Oxford. I think we're in a good position in that sense. I'm going to give us a 7 out of 10 chance. I really hope we can. Is it more belief than hope? I don't know. I'm an Oxford fan. I'm going to be biased. Naturally, I've tried my best not to be as biased as I can, and not try and be least biased as possible, but it's not easy to not. I'm going to go 7 out of 10 chance. I'm happy going forward. We just need to tighten up defensively. We've got some huge games coming up, though. Next, we've got Plymouth. They're currently in the playoffs. They're 6th in the league. What are the chances of them staying in the playoffs and finishing in the playoffs? That's what I'm asking in this one. Goal difference is what's keeping them in the playoffs at the moment, but again, it doesn't matter how you are in there. You are in the top 6, Plymouth, and again, that's a really, really positive place to be. They've got the same points as Oxford, who, of course, like I said, are in 7th. They started the season really, really well. They fell off slightly after Lowe left the football club to Preston, but since then, I think are slowly picking themselves up. How have they got the momentum to get in the top 6? Well, I don't know. Like I said, those last 2 games have been really quite good. They need to build on that. They need to pick up from those last 2 positive results and continue on the really good run of form they find themselves on. 2nd highest number of goals in the league and the 6th highest XG in the league suggests that going forward, in an attacking sense, they look really, really quite good. Their XG against is interestingly quite high, but they only conceded 24 goals, which suggests that they are much better defensively. They should be conceding more goals than they are, which suggests that defence is really proving quite successful. Again, it's also shown they're quite good in both attack and defence, hence why they're in the top 6. The running, though, that could be everything for Plymouth, and I think it could be everything for a lot of teams, but I think Plymouth, more than anyone, really, really could be everything. They've got some absolutely gigantic games. I think they've probably got the toughest run into any team that we're going to talk about in this episode. We've got Rotherham still to play, Bolton, Portsmouth, Ipswich, Oxford, Wickham, Sunderland, Wigan, and MK Dons. I don't think it gets much harder than that. They have to play everybody other than themselves that are currently sat in the playoff places. It doesn't get much harder than that. And also, as well as that, they've got to play the teams below them as well. So that's how difficult it's going to be for Plymouth. If they can get results against them, they'll comfortably do it. But it's not going to be easy at all. And it could break their hearts in terms of finishing in the playoff places. I don't know. No one knows. But in terms of their chance, I've been slightly harsh, I think. But I've gone 5.5 out of 10. That running scares me, Plymouth. It really, really does. You've got to get some big results in those massive games, which, again, you really could do. But 5.5, 55% chance of getting the playoffs, it really is. I think you've got over half chance of getting in there because you're already in there. You're already in there anyway. But there's some games in there that really could break your hearts and really could break your chances of a playoff finish. But I wish Plymouth with all the luck in the world. I really, really do. Because I think they're a team that really deserves to be in there. I really like the way that Plymouth play their football. Next in, we've got Wickham, currently sat in 5th, but not in great form in the last 4 games. Going for the XG for actual goals and XG are in a respectable position. Interestingly, they have the 5th worst XG, sat in 31 goals against, but have only conceded 25 goals. So it does prove there they should be apparently conceding more goals than they actually are, which is promising. They're both good in attack and defence. The stats aren't poor, but they certainly aren't mind-blowing. So again, they're good, but they're not very good. And again, like we've already spoken about it earlier, you almost need to get to that very good standard in order to finish in that top 6. It says a lot about Wickham and the way they play. We know the style of play that Wickham have. We don't expect them to have the highest XG in the league, but it's interesting. It really, really is quite fascinating. They have a run-in of Portsmouth, Rotherham, Wigan, Plymouth and Sheffield Wednesday. So some huge games in there for Wickham. They need to sort their form out if they're going to have any chance of finishing the top 6. Momentum and a run of form is what's going to be so significant. I'm giving Wickham a 7 out of 10 chance though. They've got the quality, they've got the manager, and again, they're 5th in the league. I think if they can turn this sort of blip you'd like to think at the moment around, then they really, really do have a fantastic chance of finishing in the top 6 come the end of the season. Sunderland, it's a controversial one, Sunderland, isn't it? It really, really is. Of course, you appointed a new manager, Alex Neil. They're sat 4th, but recent form, little bit concerning. From a purely personal perspective, I still think there's such quality in this Sunderland squad that I think it will be a fairly comfortable top 6 finish. Could that be quite controversial? I've already said it's quite a controversial one. I think it might be, but I just think that is what's going to happen. I think if Alex Neil can get these players in the right frame of mind, if they can get the quality that is no doubt in this squad out of these players and start turning that into results, I just think it's going to happen. I really, really do. They aren't clicking yet, but if you can sort of really start implementing ideas, that is Alex Neil, on these players, both psychologically, basically, what I'm trying to say, I think Sunderland will be fine. I think there's a bit of a blip at the moment, but if they sort things out and get the quality out of this squad, like I said, start turning them into results, I think they should be fine. I feel this Sunderland side might just take off and comfortably finish in the top 6. Like I said, that could be quite controversial, but they've got some huge games coming up. MK Dons, Wigan, Charlton, Rotherham, Oxford, Plymouth, purely down to how Neil regroups this squad. That's going to be down to whether or not they finish in the top 6. I feel like they're going to do it. I'm going to say 7.5 out of 10 chance of finishing in the playoff places come the end of the season. So for MK Dons, keeping hold of players in the January transfer window is going to be the deciding factor as to whether or not they were going to finish in that top 6. And they sort of did it. Not completely, but they did that in terms of the best they possibly could. They lost Matt O'Reilly to Celtic, which I believe from MK Dons fans, that was a sort of a release clause being matched. So they felt difficult. I don't think it was one they had too much power on keeping him. But again, they've been really, really good in terms of recruiting players in and replacing the players they've lost, but also adding quality to the squad as well. And again, like I think it's really important to mention, they're sat in 3rd. So they're not doing everything wrong at all. They're doing something right. They're in a really, really good position in the league. And when we're talking about who's going to finish there, the starting point's really significant. They're sat in 3rd, which is really quite promising. They're in a good run of form, but they do head in some really difficult games, which is, again, could be really quite make or break. Now, on the other hand, they could go on and win these huge games, win these next 5 games, and that could solidify them a comfortable position in the top 6, but it could derail their season. Again, the key word being there, could. They've got Sunderland, Charlton, Bolton, Rotherham, and Wigan all in the next 5 games. You win those games, or you get some results in those games, you're going to guarantee yourself a top 6 place. But to have Sunderland, Charlton, Bolton, Rotherham, and Wigan, that could be everything. I think it will be everything. A few other games there which we sort of consider MK Dons favourites, and they've still got to play Sheffield Wednesday, Oxford, and Plymouth. That's going to be difficult. But the 5 games of Sunderland, Charlton, Bolton, Rotherham, Wigan, that could finish MK Dons' chances. Like I said, it could make them, but it really, really could finish them off. In terms of giving them a chance out of 10 of finishing in the playoff places, I'm probably going to give them a 7. Like I said, again, they've got some really difficult games coming up, but I feel like where they are in the league at the moment, their form they're on, the quality in the squad, the way they play their football, I think 7 out of 10 is a fair rank or score to give them. Next to them, we've got Wigan. Now, I can't see them not getting into the playoffs, if I'm being honest. They've got some games in hands on teams around them. They're also in second. They've got some big games coming up, no doubt. But like I said, look at that starting position, the way they're playing, the games in hand they've got, which don't guarantee points. But again, that does prove and does prove to be quite helpful. I just do think they will finish in the top 6. I don't think we've got to worry, or Wigan fans have got to worry about them not doing that. I can't see them falling out of it. They've got Sheffield Wednesday, Bolton, MK Dons, Rotherham, Wickham to play, but they're 9-point safety in the playoffs. A comfortable gap, to be honest. I think they're going to... I don't think Wigan have got too much to worry about in that sense. Like I said, some big games coming up. I don't think it's the end of the world. I'm going to go 9 out of 10 chance of Wigan making the playoff places. I think they'll be fine, if I'm being honest. Next to them, we've got... Or finally, should I say, we've got Rotherham. Is there a possible scenario in which Rotherham fall out of the playoff places? I don't think so. A 15-point safety gap, if you like, of the playoff places. Definitely favourites now to win the league. They maybe even go on and comfortably walk the league. But again, 15-point safety of the playoff places. The second highest G in the league. Lowest XG goals against as well. The lowest goals conceded in terms of actual goals as well at 14. On a 6-game winning run. Like I said, top of the league. I mean, it's positive central over at Rotherham. I think 9.5 out of 10 chance. I would even say 100% chance of making the top 6. I'm not going to say 100 because, again, nothing's 100% in football. I think, though, if I could, which I technically can make my own rules up, I'd probably go 9.9% chance. I'm going to go 9.5, though, because we've sort of gone to 0.5s across the episode, so I'm not going to change that, but I'm going to go with 9.5 out of 10 chance of Rotherham making it. I don't think Rotherham fans or Wigan fans have got too much to worry about at all. So like I said, and as promised, I would do my final League One top 6. I sort of give my thoughts on it. Like I said, I can't predict the future. Please don't completely rip me apart in the comments down below. Let me know who you think will finish in the playoffs as well. It's really important in the comments down below. But this is what I've gone with. I've gone with Rotherham to win the league, Wigan to come second, Sunderland to make it and finish third, Wickham fourth, MK Dons fifth, and I've been a little bit biased, a little bit cheeky. I've gone with Oxford to finish 6th. I think Oxford are going to make it. I really hope they can. It does mean the teams like Plymouth, like Sheffield Wednesday, like Ipswich don't make it. Bolton don't do it. Portsmouth, Accrington, I don't really think I've got too much of a chance, if I'm being honest. But yeah, I think Oxford are going to do it. I hope Oxford can do it. It's so tight, to be honest. 57 points MK Dons are on. Oxford are on 53. Sheffield Wednesday are on 52. Ipswich are on 48. Bolton are on 45. It's so tight. And that's the beauty of this league. It honestly is so unpredictable. But I thought I'd make a video out of it because a lot of people have been asking me who I think will finish in the top 6 come the end of the season. Hopefully this has giving you some thoughts as well to think about. And like I said, give me your thoughts in the comments down below to see more of this content. Please hit that subscribe button. Hit that notification bell as well. That way you'll never miss an episode of the podcast. Until next time, I've been Jack. This has been the Unfan Podcast. Take care, stay safe. I'll see you all very, very soon. See you in a bit.